Look out into the night. Past the clouds, past the veil of our atmosphere, and gaze upon the grand celestial dance. It is a spectacle of such profound and serene order that for millennia, we believed it was the very mind of God made visible. The solar system. 8 planets, locked in an ancient and graceful waltz around a star. Mercury, scorched and swift, hugging the inferno. Venus, our shrouded twin, spinning languidly in the opposite direction. Then there is us, our blue marble, a vibrant exception in the void. Mars, the red echo of a world that might have been. Beyond them, the Titans hold court. Jupiter, a king of storms and swirling gases, so vast it could swallow every other planet whole, its great red eye a tempest older than human civilization. Saturn, the jewel of the heavens, encircled by rings of ice and dust, a breathtaking testament to the laws of motion. And further still, in the deep, frozen dark, lie the ice giants, Uranus, spinning on its side as if knocked over in some ancient cosmic brawl, and Neptune, a world of impossible blues and supersonic winds, the last true sentinel of our planetary family. It is a system. A clockwork of breathtaking precision, where every turn, every orbit, is governed by the elegant and unbreakable laws of gravity. We can predict eclipses to the second, chart the course of comets across centuries, and land robotic explorers on worlds millions of miles away, all because this system is reliable. It is known. It is, we have always believed, complete. But this perfect image, this cosmic serenity, is a lie. Not a deliberate deception, but a beautiful illusion born of a timescale too vast for us to perceive. When we look deeper, when we run the numbers and build simulations that can rewind billions of years of history, tiny cracks begin to appear in the flawless facade. Glitches in the cosmic code. The solar system we see today is not the one that was born. It is a survivor. And the quiet, orderly neighborhood we call home is built upon the echoes of a forgotten, violent past. It's a cosmic crime scene, 4 billion years old, and the clues are scattered all around us, hiding in plain sight. Consider the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. We once thought it was the rubble of a shattered planet, but the truth is stranger, there isn't enough material there to even make a respectable moon. Why? Look further out, beyond Neptune, to the Kuiper belt, a ghostly halo of trillions of frozen bodies. Our models predict it should be teeming with icy worlds, yet it is strangely sparse, with a sharp, sudden edge, as if a cosmic scythe once swept through it, clearing a path. And what of Jupiter's strange companions, the Trojan asteroids? 2 vast swarms of space rocks, one leading the giant planet and one trailing it, perfectly trapped in its orbit. How did they get there? The math of our current 4 giant planet system struggles to make it all fit. The pieces don't quite connect. The beautiful, clockwork model stutters. To make the simulation work, to create a digital solar system that grows up to look just like our own, scientists discovered they had to add a ghost. A phantom variable. An extra piece on the celestial chessboard. When they initialize their models not with 4 giant planets, but with 5, everything clicks into place. The strange emptiness of the Kuiper belt, the precise architecture of the outer planets, the capture of those Trojan asteroids, it all resolves with shocking clarity. The model only works if it begins with a world that no longer exists. A 5th gas giant, a brother to Jupiter and Saturn, an ice giant twin to Uranus and Neptune, that was present at the dawn of our system, only to be violently cast out. This is the heart of our mystery. We sleep soundly, believing we live in a quiet cosmic neighborhood, under the watch of a stable and predictable sky. But what if our home is built on the ghost of a lost world? What if the solar system of our textbooks is missing a key player, a 5th giant planet, violently thrown into the dark of interstellar space, whose absence was the necessary sacrifice for life on Earth to begin? The implications are staggering. It suggests our existence is not the result of a gentle, predictable process, but the accidental outcome of a catastrophic expulsion. It means that for Earth to become a cradle, another world had to become an orphan, doomed to wander the cold, starless abyss for eternity. We are here, safe and warm, because another world was banished. And the story of its exile is the true, hidden history of our solar system. To prove a planet was lost, we can't simply point a telescope and find it. It's gone, vanished into the interstellar dark billions of years ago. So how do we hunt for a ghost? We treat the solar system as a cosmic crime scene. The victim is a world, and the weapon was gravity itself. All we have left is the evidence scattered by the struggle, the faint, lingering fingerprints of a cataclysm that reshaped our entire planetary system. And when you know where to look, those prints are everywhere. Our first and most powerful clue comes not from the sky, but from inside a computer. For decades, planetary scientists have been trying to build a perfect digital replica of our solar system's history. The most successful of these is known as the Nice model, named after the city in France where it was first developed. It's a brilliant piece of cosmic storytelling. The model proposes that the giant planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, weren't born in their current, stately orbits. They formed much closer together, packed into a tight, compact configuration. Over millions of years, they slowly drifted and migrated, their immense gravitational forces tugging on one another until they eventually settled into the stable arrangement we see today. The Nice model was a breakthrough, explaining many long-standing puzzles about our solar system's architecture. But it wasn't perfect. When scientists ran the simulation with just 4 giant planets, the final result was always a little off. The orbits would be too circular, or the planets would end up too far apart. To make the digital solar system perfectly match our real one required an immense amount of fine-tuning, an almost impossible degree of luck. It was like trying to solve a puzzle with a piece that didn't quite fit. Then, in 2011, a team of researchers decided to try something radical. They tossed a wild card into their simulation. A 5th giant planet, an extra ice giant about the mass of Uranus, placed in an orbit between Saturn and Uranus. And suddenly, the puzzle solved itself. With 5 planets, the initial system was beautifully unstable. The gravitational dance was more chaotic, more violent, and it inevitably led to one of the ice giants being ejected. And as that planet was thrown out, the remaining 4 were kicked into orbits that perfectly, and naturally, matched the solar system we see today. The model didn't need to be forced anymore. It just worked. This simulation is our smoking gun, a mathematical echo that screams a 5th giant once existed. The second breadcrumb lies in the cold, desolate frontier of our solar system, the Kuiper Belt. This is a vast donut-shaped region of ice and rock, a graveyard of primordial debris left over from the formation of the planets. Logically, this belt should be thick with material and should slowly taper off into the void. But it doesn't. Instead, the Kuiper Belt is strangely anemic, far less massive than our models predict. More bizarrely, at a certain distance from the Sun, it just stops. There is a sharp, well-defined edge, known as the Kuiper Cliff, beyond which there is almost nothing. It's as if a celestial gardener came through and neatly trimmed the edge of the solar system. The gravitational pull of Neptune can explain some of this structure, but not the cliff, and not the missing mass. But the violent ejection of a 5th ice giant explains it perfectly. Imagine a world 16 times the mass of Earth being shot out of the inner solar system like a cannonball. As it hurtled through the primordial Kuiper Belt, its gravity would have acted like a snowplow, scattering trillions of icy bodies. It would have tossed them into the far reaches of space, sent them hurtling towards the Sun, or captured them into strange, tilted orbits. This single, chaotic event would have carved out the Kuiper Belt, clearing its outer edge and depleting its mass in one fell swoop. The Kuiper Cliff is not a wall, it's a scar, left by a planet on its way into exile. Our final clue is locked in an eternal dance with the king of planets himself. If you look at Jupiter's orbit, you'll find it isn't alone. Traveling 60 degrees ahead of it, and 60 degrees behind it, are 2 colossal clouds of asteroids, known as the Trojans. There are over 10,000 of them that we know of, trapped in these 2 gravitational sweet spots. The question has always been, how did they get there? Capturing so many asteroids into such a specific and stable configuration is incredibly difficult. The slow, predictable gravity of the modern solar system can't do it. But the chaos of a 5-planet system can. During the era of instability, as the giant planets were jostling for position and the 5th world was on a collision course with destiny, Jupiter's own orbit would have jumped. This gravitational upheaval would have created a brief window of opportunity, a perfect storm for scooping up and trapping a vast population of asteroids that strayed too close. The Trojans are not just rocks, they are prisoners of war, captured during the Great Planetary Migration and held in place for 4 billion years. Their existence is a monument to a brief period of chaos, a chaos best explained by the gravitational death throes of a missing world. Taken alone, each of these clues is intriguing. But together, they paint a powerful and consistent picture. The computer models that predict our home, the strange architecture of our system's farthest edge, and the captured swarms of Jupiter's companions are all telling the same story. They are different witnesses to the same ancient crime. They are the trail of breadcrumbs leading us back to a solar system that was once more crowded, more chaotic, and home to a fifth giant planet. The evidence doesn't just point to a void, it sketches a portrait. The mathematical ghosts that haunt our computer simulations are not just abstract variables, they are the blueprints for a world. A world that was as real as Jupiter, as tangible as Saturn, and is now as lost as a myth. Using the logic of these models and the laws of planetary formation, we can resurrect this planet, not in space, but in our imagination. We can build a profile of the lost member of our solar system's family. First, this was not another rocky world like Earth or Mars, nor was it a colossal gas giant like Jupiter. The simulations are clear, to fit the evidence, this missing planet had to be an ice giant. Think of its siblings, Uranus and Neptune. It would have been a world with a relatively small, solid core of rock and metal, but its true bulk would have been a vast, deep mantle not of molten rock, but of superpressurized, hot ices. A thick, slushy mixture of water, methane, and ammonia, heated to thousands of degrees but crushed under such immense pressure that it remains a bizarre, dense fluid. Capping this all would be its atmosphere, a thick, turbulent blanket of hydrogen and helium, laced with traces of methane that would have likely given the planet a stunning color, perhaps a deep, ethereal cyan, a pale, ghostly lavender, or a swirling, stormy indigo. In terms of size, it was a true giant, a heavyweight contender in the planetary family. The models place its mass at around 16 or 17 times that of Earth, making it a near-perfect twin of Uranus and Neptune. It would have possessed a gravitational pull strong enough to hold onto a family of its own moons, dozens of them perhaps, formed from a swirling disk of debris in its early history. And like all the other giant worlds in our solar system, it almost certainly would have had rings, delicate, shimmering halos of ice and dust, catching the faint, distant sunlight. This was no mere rock. It was a complete, majestic world, with its own weather, its own moons, its own silent, frozen beauty, following its own path around the young sun. So where was this majestic world? The simulations show that in the early, compact solar system, it occupied the most dangerous piece of real estate available. Its orbit was likely situated in the gap between the primordial paths of Saturn and Uranus. It was a world caught in the middle, trapped in a gravitational tug-of-war between the immense pull of Saturn on one side and the combined influence of the other ice giants on the other. It was born in a precarious, unstable position, a celestial tragedy waiting to happen. For the sake of our story, a story of its exile and its impact on us, let's give it a name that reflects its fate. Let's call it the Orphan. Now, it is crucial to make a distinction here. When we speak of a missing giant planet, many will immediately think of the modern hunt for Planet 9. Planet 9 is a different hypothesis. It theorizes that a large planet, perhaps 5 to 10 times the mass of Earth, currently exists in the dark, frozen abyss of the extreme outer solar system. Its gravity is thought to be shepherding a cluster of small, icy bodies into strange, highly elongated orbits. The evidence for Planet 9 is compelling, and the search for it is one of the great astronomical quests of our time. Could the Orphan and Planet 9 be one and the same? It's a tantalizing possibility. Some simulations suggest that during the Great Upheaval, our fifth giant wasn't completely ejected. Instead, it was thrown into a vast, eccentric orbit, becoming the reclusive Planet 9 we are searching for today. In this scenario, it wasn't banished entirely, but became a distant, estranged member of the family, its presence felt only by its faint gravitational nudges on the solar system's outermost debris. But the vast majority of simulations, the ones that best explain the clues we see in the Kuiper Belt and the Trojan asteroids, end in a far more violent and definitive outcome. They end not in a distant orbit, but in a complete, irreversible expulsion. To understand the profound impact this planet had on our own existence, we must follow the evidence to its most dramatic conclusion: this world is gone. It is a true orphan, cast out from its home, and its story is not one of a hidden existence, but of a catastrophic absence. For millions of years, the young solar system existed in a state of deceptive peace. The 5 giant worlds, born from the same swirling disk of gas and dust, moved in a celestial ballet of impossible harmony. They were packed together, far closer than they are today, their orbits locked in a delicate, resonant rhythm. This wasn't the stable, predictable clockwork we know, it was a system wound tight, a gravitational time bomb humming with potential energy. For a time, Uranus, Neptune, and the Orphan, our lost ice giant, moved in a perfect, repeating pattern, their gravitational pulls on each other cancelling out, maintaining a fragile truce. Further in, the two titans, Jupiter and Saturn performed their own powerful duet, their orbits synced in a precise mathematical ratio. It was beautiful. It was orderly. And it was doomed. The trigger for the catastrophe, the first tremor to shake the foundations of the system, came from its two most massive members. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, Jupiter and Saturn began to drift. Pulled by the gravity of the trillions of icy planetesimals surrounding them, their orbits began to shift. The breaking point came when they crossed a threshold of profound power, the 2:1 orbital resonance. The moment when, for every single orbit Saturn completed, Jupiter completed exactly 2. Suddenly, their gravitational tugs were no longer random, they were synchronized. They began to pull on each other at the same point in their orbits, over and over. The gentle hum of the system became a deafening drumbeat. This rhythmic, amplified pulsing of gravity was the spark that lit the fuse. The harmony was broken. The truce was over. Chaos was unleashed. This new, violent resonance sent a shockwave of instability through the entire solar system. The carefully balanced orbits of the outer ice giants were shattered. Uranus and Neptune were shoved outwards. But the Orphan, caught in the middle, was dealt the cruelest hand. Its orbit, once a predictable ellipse, was warped and twisted by the gravitational chaos. It was thrown from its path, sent careening through the planetary neighborhood like a ricocheting bullet. The simulations show a frantic, terrifying dance that may have lasted for thousands of years, a series of near misses and close encounters. But its fate was sealed the moment it stumbled into the path of the king. It was on a collision course not with Jupiter itself, but with its immense, invisible empire of gravity. What happened next was not a collision of matter, but a transaction of cosmic energy. As the Orphan plunged towards Jupiter, the giant planet's gravity captured it in an inescapable grip. It was a fly caught in a spider's web the size of a world. The Orphan swung around Jupiter, its velocity increasing to a truly incredible speed. In this fatal exchange, Jupiter acted as a colossal gravitational slingshot. It stole the Orphan's orbital energy, pulling its own orbit slightly closer to the Sun, and converted that energy into raw, kinetic speed for the smaller planet. The simulations show the Orphan being accelerated to a velocity so high it exceeded the Sun's escape velocity. The gravitational leash that had bound it to our star for 500 million years finally snapped. With a final, terrible acceleration, it was flung outwards. The Great Expulsion was not a quiet departure. As it rocketed through the outer solar system on its way to oblivion, it became a weapon of mass disruption. It scythed through the primordial disk of comets and icy debris, a region teeming with trillions of objects. Its passage was a gravitational hurricane, scattering these small bodies in all directions. It sent swarms of them hurtling into the inner solar system, and flung countless others out into the deep void. This was no gentle exit, it was a final, parting act of violence that would fundamentally resculpt the solar system it was leaving behind. In the aftermath of the expulsion, a new quiet descended. The remaining 4 giant planets, having settled their gravitational debts, slowly drifted into the wide, stable orbits we know today. The chaos was over. The solar system had found its new, long-term equilibrium. But it was a smaller family now. And somewhere, out in the unimaginable darkness between the stars, a new traveler began its lonely journey. The Orphan, stripped of its sun, its siblings, and its home, became a rogue planet. A cold, dark wanderer, destined to travel the starless abyss for billions, perhaps trillions, of years, carrying only the ghost light of its own internal heat. It is a world without a dawn, a silent testament to the violence that was necessary to give our own world a chance at peace. An act of cosmic violence on such a scale should have been purely destructive. A planetary expulsion is the ultimate expression of gravitational chaos, an event that reshapes an entire system through brute force. But the universe is rarely so simple. Creation and destruction are often two sides of the same coin. The ejection of the Orphan did not just end its story, it began ours. The final, parting shot of the banished planet was not aimed at its siblings in the outer dark, but at the small, rocky worlds huddled close to the sun. Its legacy is not an absence, but a scar that transformed our world from a barren rock into a living cradle. As the Orphan was flung into interstellar space, the gravitational hurricane it unleashed sent trillions of comets and asteroids from the outer solar system careening inwards. This celestial shrapnel, this cosmic fusillade, began a new chapter in our history, an era of unimaginable violence known as the Late Heavy Bombardment. For a period of up to 200 million years, the inner solar system became a shooting gallery. The young Earth, along with its barren moon, Venus, and Mars, was subjected to a relentless and cataclysmic assault. The sky was never truly dark, it was perpetually streaked with the fire of incoming worlds. Impacts from objects the size of cities were common, each one releasing more energy than all the nuclear weapons on Earth combined. The surface of our young planet was a hellish forge, repeatedly sterilized, its crust melted and reformed, its fledgling atmosphere boiled away and replenished in a continuous cycle of destruction. We see the evidence of this ancient war etched into the face of our nearest celestial neighbor. The moon has no atmosphere, no weather, no geology to erase its history. Its face is a museum of this bombardment, a battlefield preserved for 4 billion years. Every one of its vast, dark seas, or Maria, is a wound from a colossal impact. The Earth, being larger and more massive, would have suffered an even more intense assault. Our planet's scars have long been erased by the churn of plate tectonics and the softness of erosion, but in our planet's youth, it would have been a vision of hell, a world seemingly being torn apart. This appears to be an ending. A story of a world so brutalized it could never possibly harbor life. But within this rain of fire was a profound and transformative gift. The projectiles of the late heavy bombardment were not just sterile rocks. They were primarily comets, dirty snowballs hurled from the solar system's deep freeze. And they carried a ghostly cargo. The first part of that cargo was water. The early Earth, formed so close to the Sun, was likely a hot, dry world, its original water long since boiled off into space. A fundamental question in planetary science is, where did our oceans come from? The late heavy bombardment provides a stunning answer. It was a delivery system. Each cometary impact, for all its violence, was a titanic injection of water. Billions of icy bodies, each one vaporizing on impact, released their contents into the atmosphere. Over millions of years, this water vapor cooled, condensed, and fell in a planet-spanning torrential rain that lasted for centuries. The oceans of Earth were not born with the planet, they were delivered from the heavens, the collected ghosts of a billion comets sent our way by the expulsion of a long-lost world. But these comets carried something even more precious than water. Preserved within their ice, shielded from the sun's radiation in the cold darkness of the outer solar system, were the very building blocks of life itself. Complex organic molecules. Amino acids, the components of proteins. Nucleobases, the letters of the genetic code. These are not life, but they are its essential, non-negotiable ingredients. The bombardment didn't just provide the stage for life to begin, the oceans, it also delivered the cast of characters. It seeded the sterile waters of the young Earth with the raw materials needed to build the first living cells. This is the profound, beautiful, and terrifying irony at the heart of our existence. The death of one world was the seed of our own. To become a cradle for life, the Earth first had to survive a trial by fire, a hailstorm of debris unleashed by the expulsion of its long-lost sibling. The same impacts that would have annihilated any pre-existing life are the very reason we are here to ponder the question. Our planet's water, the air we breathe, the very carbon in our bodies, much of it may be a direct inheritance from this ancient, violent migration. We are the children of this catastrophe. Our existence is predicated on a planetary sacrifice. We live in the quiet aftermath of a storm that was triggered by the banishment of the orphan, a storm that nearly destroyed our world, but instead, gave it everything it needed to live. The story of our solar system, it turns out, is a story of survival. We live in the calm after a storm, the beneficiaries of a planetary sacrifice that paved the way for our existence. It's a dramatic, violent, and deeply personal history. But the most profound revelation is not what happened to us, but the realization that our story is almost certainly not unique. The laws of physics are universal. The chaotic dance of gravity that played out here 4 billion years ago is a performance that has been staged in countless other stellar systems, across the vast expanse of the Milky Way. What happened in our home was not an anomaly, it was likely the norm. When we look out into the galaxy, we see 100 billion stars, each one a potential sun. Our search for exoplanets has shown us that planets are not the exception, but the rule. They are everywhere. But the same models that revealed our own system's violent past tell us that the formation of stable planetary families is a messy, inefficient business. For every quiet, orderly system that emerges, many more are likely forged in the crucible of instability. Planetary ejections, once thought to be a cosmic rarity, are now understood to be a standard feature of a solar system's adolescence. The galaxy, it seems, is in the business of creating orphans. This forces us to completely reimagine the cosmos. We see the galaxy as a city of lights, a brilliant tapestry of suns and glowing nebulae. But this new understanding reveals an invisible population, a shadow civilization of wanderers that may outnumber the stars themselves. For every pinprick of light you see in the night sky, there could be thousands of dark, cold worlds drifting silently in the interstellar abyss. Trillions of rogue planets, each one a ghost of a solar system, ejected from its home in a gravitational cataclysm just like the one our orphan suffered. They are the true inhabitants of the galactic ocean. Worlds of gas and ice, their atmospheres frozen solid, their surfaces bathed in a darkness so complete it is broken only by the faint glimmer of distant starlight. They do not orbit a sun, they orbit the center of the galaxy itself, taking millions of years to complete a single, lonely revolution. Some may still be geologically active, their cores glowing with remnant heat from their violent formation, creating subsurface oceans of liquid water, forever shielded from the light. They are a galaxy of lost children, each carrying the memory of a home it can never return to, a sun it will never see again. The empty space between the stars is not empty at all. It is the world's largest graveyard, and it is also its largest nursery of exiles. And this brings us back to our own fragile existence. We have always seen ourselves as living in a place of special providence, a system designed for stability. But the truth is far more humbling, and far more terrifying. Our stability is not a feature of design, but a consequence of chance. We are the survivors of an ancient cosmic brawl, the lucky ones who weren't thrown out of the house when the fighting started. Our planet's life-giving water, the very ground beneath our feet, is here because another world was sacrificed. Our peace was purchased with its exile. Our existence is an accident, a fortunate roll of the cosmic dice in a game that produces far more losers than winners. So as you gaze out at the stars, what is it you're really looking for? We search for worlds like our own, for signs of life in stable, sunlit orbits. But perhaps the galaxy's most common story isn't one of quiet stability, but of lonely wanderers in the dark. A story not of homes, but of homelessness. It leaves us to wonder, are we the template, or are we the exception? Are we the lucky few who clung to the warmth of the fire, or are we just the last ones left in a room from which everyone else has been cast out into the cold? The answer is still out there, written in the orbits of distant worlds, and in the silent passage of the galaxy's forgotten orphans.